That original ship was built in 1625. It was built by the Dutch and then bought by the Swedes. And the Swedes actually sailed that ship, much like this one, sailed it across the ocean and arrived in the Delaware Valley up near a place which we call Wilmington today, and started the first Swedish colony in the New World. And then pirates. Now we may look a bit like a pirate ship. Of course, you know, we're flying our Jolly Roger and we've got cannons on board and we all seem to be dressed like pirates today. But unfortunately, the Kalmar Nyckel never was a pirate ship. And we don't have any records of them ever actually encountering any pirates either. However, you know, the cannons would have been to defend themselves against pirates. Because there's probably been pirates ever since the first boat ever went in the water. There's probably been somebody else who had another boat and wanted to attack that person and take whatever they had on their ship. Therefore, pirates have always been around. So probably some of the most famous periods in time with pirates would have been back in the time, around the time of the original Kalmar Nyckel. It was the time of an area called the Spanish Main, which was all along the Caribbean down into South America. And back then we had lots of gold and silver being mined in those areas, so therefore there was good treasure to be found for pirates. But pirates weren't always after gold and silver, you see. But they were after all kinds of things, yes. You see, actually probably the most famous time in pirate history is a time that's called the Golden Age of Piracy. It lasted from around 1685 to around 1724, ending with the death of Bartholomew Roberts, otherwise known as Jack Bond. He was a very famous pirate. He was probably the most accomplished pirate in history. Captured the most ships and the most treasure of any pirate. He was killed by the British Navy. You sure have lots of questions today, don't you? So but this was a time of many different pirates. Many of them you may have heard of, like Blackbeard, otherwise known as Edward Teach, Charles Vane, Calico Jack Rackham, Edward Lowe, Thomas Tew, even the famous female pirates Mary Read and Anne Bonny were around during this time. And this was a time that actually the pirates were actually being forced out of the Caribbean, and they were moving north, and they moved off to the mid-Atlantic coast. So all along the mid-Atlantic that we think of as today, from about South Carolina all the way up to Boston, was being terrorized by pirates. Now you see, they moved north out of the Caribbean because a gentleman by the name of Woodes Rogers was hired by the British government. He went down to Port Royal, Jamaica, and he offered two things. He offered pirates a pardon if they would stop being pirates, or he offered them a short drop with a sudden stop at the end of a rope. So some of them decided the latter, but many decided the former and took the pardon. And yet others decided that they would just find other waters to patrol. So we saw lots of pirates moving north, working off the coast of the Carolinas, Virginia, and such. Now you have to think in the early 1700s, what's going on in that part of the area? What's going on in the land? We're settling. We've got colonies going on, so there's lots and lots of trade going on between the colonies, and of course goods are being brought back and forth from Europe and over to the New World. So there's lots of ships around. Now what are those ships carrying? Probably not a lot of gold and silver. Anybody from Delaware? Do you know of any gold and silver mines in Delaware? Okay, I didn't either. So yes, a lot of what they're going to find on those ships is going to be things like food, tobacco, sugar, spices, molasses, rum. They're looking at tools, materials for clothing, those type of things. Now, even say a load of tea. Now, what's a pirate going to do with a load of tea if he captures that ship? He's going to sell it. See, pirates are not known for being tea drinkers, so therefore they're going to need to do something with that tea. So they're going to sell it. And of course, pirates are actually going to find a market for their goods,